Right, gonna share screen and need it off. And that I don't want to do. Share screen with sound. Just to confirm, you can see that.
Yeah, bon.
Yep.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, just officially saying welcome to you for joining us on this lovely sunny Friday afternoon, the last one of the month, to another free Friday lunch webinar, and sharing with you my insights around the importance of building personal brand equity. So for those of you who don't know, I head up an organization called Soldati, Southern African Leadership Development and Training Institute, where we believe in growing leaders and impacting results. And as always, if you would like to contact me, feel free and just contact me via email or give me a shout. It would be great to engage with you. Also, as far as leadership development is concerned. That is not only my profession, but also my passion. A couple of housekeeping issues before we start. Just want to say thank you for joining us, supporting us. Much appreciated. Please, if you wouldn't mind muting, leave your camera on. You feel free to do that, unless you obviously ask a question. Just unmute then. And then, yeah, just we're 5 minutes into the session, but I will finish 5 to 1:30, and then I'll open the floor for Q&A. If you want to put something in the chat box, I'll rather prefer you asking the questions at the end, but by all means put it in there and we'll try our best to get to that. As I've said earlier, I started recording the session, and if you would like to get a copy of the recording, give me a shout via email and I'll gladly retransfer it to you, or just hang on for a couple of working days and we'll have it on our website as a vlog. And then, yeah, very importantly, please mail me with future topics. If there are things, especially around leadership and personal leadership, that you feel are relevant, pertinent, that you would like me to address or to cover, I would appreciate it if you can drop me a mail to highlight that to me. So really today is about, and that's why I'm doing these sessions, is for us to reflect. Reflect on the content of what I discuss with you and what we share with each other in relation to our lives. How am I doing? How am I gauging? And to hold up that proverbial mirror in terms of, am I doing okay, or do I have some work to do? So if I, just to contextualize the whole thing around personal branding, if I have to ask you this question, would you like to be that Porsche Boxster if you had to be a car? Or, put it differently, which kind of car would you like? That one? Or that Skoda Kodiaq? And yeah, if I can just ask you to mute, please, if you just came in, I'll appreciate that. The reality is, or let me ask you the question, and please unmute and tell me if any one of you would like to be the Skoda Kodiaq or aspire to own the Skoda Kodiaq one day rather than the Porsche Boxster, and why?
Yeah, I think we need other options.
You need other options. You don't like Porsche. Okay, well, if you like Merc, then call it whatever Merc you like, or BMW. That's also fine. The point I want to make is, surely we aspire to the vehicle, or to own the vehicle that is reliable, that's fast, that's beautiful, that's well cared and looked after, etc., etc. And the same applies to us in our personal lives.
Whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand. How you look, talk, what you watch, how you work, what people say about you, everything associated with you. This could be your beliefs, what you post on social media, and who you follow on Instagram. Whether you were devastated by Game of Thrones, or whether you follow Korean soaps avidly, everything, literally everything, makes up your personal brand. Whether it's your social or professional persona, you have a unique brand.
So, if we look at personalbrand.com, they give a very detailed definition of what is a personal brand, which I'm not going to bore you with. But let's look at the simplified version that they also post on their website. They're saying that personal branding is the effort to communicate and present your value to this world. And the question that we have to ask, you and I, is what is our personal brand? And I think more importantly, are we actively working on building our personal brand? So I would like you to unmute if you don't mind. And then I'm going to show you a picture of three characters, let's call them. And please shout out as soon as I drop the 3 pictures. Which one of these personalities or characters do you think has the strongest and best personal brand?
Mandela.
Madiba.
Madiba, Mandela, absolutely. I think we can argue that Tarzan has got a much stronger and better personal brand than Osama bin Laden, am I right?
Indeed.
Yes.
So I'm not a big follower, I must admit, of American politics, but I remember distinctly I was driving the car and Joe Biden, there was a news clip around what he said, or a short summary of what he said at his inauguration when he became president of the USA. And he said the following, and I actually wrote it down afterwards, and that's what I'm sharing with you. He said, we'll lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We'll lead by the power of our example. And you and I again need to ask ourselves, are we really leading by the power of the good example that we would like to set? Mahatma Gandhi said, my life is my message. In terms of the way we live, the interactions we have with other people, etc., what kind of message do we send out? And another question is, what is your influence on others? This guy is very weird. He was very weird. Marley and I had the privilege to visit his museum in Paris, in Montmartre, on an overseas trip. Salvador Dali, he said, I don't do drugs, I am drugs. What kind of drug are you to the people around you? I once went on a customer, let's call it excursion, in my corporate life many years ago. And we stopped at the Beesterkrol station where we had breakfast on our way back, just outside of Brits. And I saw this quote against the wall. Aspire to inspire before you expire. Do we aspire to inspire before you expire? Keith, are you guys on mute? Sorry,
No.
I'm just picking up your voices, if you don't mind. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sorry, it said my mic wasn't working.
All good, thank you. Right, and I think another key aspect of personal brand value or personal brand equity is this: beating or at least keeping your promises. Tom Peters said, formula for success is under promise and over deliver. And it's in the small things. When Marley asked me what time am I going to be at home after working late or being wherever, maybe 20 years ago, I would have tried to beat my own promise or at the risk of maybe just being a little bit too late. But I don't anymore. If I think I'm going to be home at 6:30, I'll tell her 7:15. And guess what? Every time I make my promise, every time she smiles, I smile, and I'm the hero. And that, to me, makes sense. Talking about breaking promises. The statistic says 80% of all people, very soon after the 1st of January, break the promise to the most important person that they can't break a promise to themselves. Not sticking to their New Year's resolutions. And if we ask ourselves, what's one of the most critical things around relationships? It's trust. So if I break promises to myself, how can I trust myself? And what does that picture look like? Very dark, I think. And I think absolutely no question. I have a lot of discussions with friends, colleagues, family around the things that COVID has changed a lot of things, also around sticking to our promises. I'm convinced that after we've weathered the storm of COVID, where we are right now, and I experience it every day almost, where people make promises, I'll get back to you, I'll phone you, I'll send you a mail in a week. It doesn't happen. And I think we should more talk about aspire to wear that t-shirt. Why are you doing this something small? Why are you driving there to drop off something? Because I said I would. Sticking to my promises. Being part of a strong personal brand. And working hard as a core value. We might say, Hekkie, but that's a given. But it's not always a given. My dad always taught me that only the grave diggers start from the top. The rest of us have to work very, very hard to climb the ladder. And working hard should be absolutely part of our core value in terms of having a strong personal brand. No question in my mind. And then very importantly, we need to, Uncle Keith, Uncle Kevin. Kevin, would you mind just muting, please? Thank you. Very importantly, it's very important that we, in today's day and age, it's different than 20 years ago. It's important that we market our personal brand, or when we market our personal brand, that we are very, very careful. And there's a warning here. We've got Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, just to name a few. And we all do public speeches like I'm doing now. We all have public engagements. And it's so careful to be focused on what you say and what you get out there in terms of this whole new digital marketing and around what is out there and on social media. And if you need to be reminded, just ask a Greek guy that made a statement on an island that he to this date still regrets. And you might say, I can't change my personal branding, Hekkie. I was born and I was left like this, and this is the way I am. And I would like to say to you, my response to you would be absolutely rubbish, is what you're saying if that's your response. And you might say, well, how can you say that? Well, I can tell you, I'm testimony to the fact that in 1990, when I was I had my first year at varsity, and University of Pretoria asked me to leave because I was actually wasting the government's subsidy money. I was certainly not the person, and my personal brand was certainly not what it is today. It's chalk and cheese. Why? Because I made a choice to actively work on my personal brand. And is my personal brand where I would like it to be? Almost, but certainly not 100%. And that's the thing. We've got work to do. And it's within us, within our power, because we are in charge to mold our personal brand in terms of what we would like to see. So the big question is, what is the equity or the value of your personal brand? And is it like the super lady on its way up towards where you would like it to be? So if we have to do a quick individual exercise just for reflection, ask yourself the following questions. What should I do less of to create the personal brand that I want? What should I do more of to create the personal brand that I want? And the final question is, what should I keep on doing to create or maintain the personal brand that I want? Richard Carlson said, you are what you practice most. And what I keep on telling and sharing with people when I have business coaching or mentoring interactions is that we don't get a degree in soft skills like we get a degree in finance or in medicine or whatever the case might be. Soft skills like these, and soft skill related things like these, or like this, it's a question of practice. Practice it. It's a question of personal mastery. I love this picture. I just got it from the internet. It says, how do we get there? Not with simple practice, no, but with deliberate practice. Deliberately working on growing our personal brand. It says the only way to achieve the goal, or this goal, is through consistent and long-term practice. However, we don't just want any type of practice. It needs to be deliberate practice, not just happen by chance, intentionally.
What's the takeaway from being authentic, and what's the stuff that we need to set aside?
The word authenticity is too loosely used. You know, go ahead. Today, Eric, I'd like you to be more authentic. What are you going to change? Like, you have no clue, right? What authenticity means is the things you say and the things you do, you actually believe, right? Because we are social animals, and trust comes from that feeling we have when you get a sense of somebody. We're good at figuring people out. It's what makes us successful as a species. And so when you are authentic, when you only say and only do the things you actually believe, people will trust you. And when you don't say the things you believe, you're just trying to get some sort of short-term behavior, people won't trust you. And so the importance and value of being authentic is that it's in your long-term interest, that people will support you and stand by you. People will put up with your failures. People will help you for no other reason than it helps them.
So whatever you aspire to from a personal branding point of view, make sure it's authentic. Merriam-Webster dictionary says, authentic means true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Or another definition from Lexico is, it is of undisputed origin and not a copy. And I love this final word, which summarizes so nicely. To be authentic means you are genuine. You are genuinely you. Carl Gustav Jung said, the Swiss psychiatrist, he said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So yes, it's important to value personal branding and to take it seriously. But what is more important is the fact that we need to take charge. The most important thing is that we take charge and actively, intentionally build the personal brand that we would like to see. And I think the biggest question that I want to finish off with is, but why? Why even bother? Why build a personal brand that makes you proud? Because, ladies and gentlemen, that's ultimately what it's about. It's about building a brand, your personal brand that you are proud of. It's your life. You're in charge. Well, I think it's about our legacy. I was 4 years old when my mom's dad passed away at the young age of 46. He didn't have a good or strong personal brand at all. In fact, it was the opposite is true. My grandfather, when he died at 46, he was an alcoholic. He was an abusive man towards my mom and my grandmother. And he eventually died of emphysema and lung cancer because of the fact that he smoked himself to death. I never had the legacy. I don't have the memory of my grandfather's legacy being one of doing woodwork with me, like that grandfather's doing, or putting me on his lap and reading a story to me, or playing matchbox cars we used to have in the day on a carpet. No. His personal brand was such that the legacy he left was actually sad. And I know for a fact, if he had to come back and could have changed things at the tender age of 46 when he died, he would. So the question is, what is my legacy? What is your legacy? And the reality is, or the scary thing is, that's my best attempt at a scary picture. The scary thing is that leaving a legacy is the legacy that you leave behind today. And that's what some corrupt politicians and business people don't understand. The legacy that you leave for generations to come is the legacy that you have today. Because God forbid, but if the proverbial Patco bus runs you over today, you don't have a chance. You don't have opportunity to go back and change your legacy. You don't have opportunity to build a personal brand that you would like to have seen. It's too late. The legacy that you have today is the legacy that you will have in eternity if you don't do something about it. So best you and I work on our personal brands, and as part of scripting the legacies that we would like to leave behind. And as always, I don't say these kind of things to make you feel guilty. No. Am I saying it to maybe make you feel uncomfortable? For your sake, more than anybody else? Absolutely. And on that note, I am leaving you from a content point of view. If this stuff interests you, I published a book about a year ago on self-leadership that summarizes my self-leadership journey over 36 years. Please feel free to get yourself a copy if you order it from my website. It's shipped from my office in Joburg and it's signed just for you. And please register for our next Friday, free Friday lunch webinar at the end of November with the topic Cherishing Relationships as part of a sustainability mindset. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end. And I'm going to open the floor. And I am talking about sticking to your promise. It is 5 to 2:30. I'm going to stop sharing, and I want to get into good conversations and questions if you're ready to post them. Please feel free. And this is the uncomfortable part where everybody says, should I ask a question, unbeknown to the fact that the guy next to you or below you or above you has got exactly the same question, but they're too scared to ask. Anything that you would like to share, even if it's your own experiences, comment, questions, please feel free. Time is right here, right now. Uncle Keith, and by the way, Uncle Keith, before you start, the reason why we call each other uncles is we're part of an organization called The Character Company, where we mentor boys that don't have positive male role models, and we all call ourselves as part of the organization uncles, so that the boys understand everybody's uncles, and we call ourselves uncles as well. So Uncle Keith, go for it.
Does personal brand not tie in very closely with identity? And when you said to be authentic, I would suggest that there might be the identity that people see in the identity that you hold internally. Your comment?
Yeah, I would think so. I think, and please, if anybody disagrees with me, please tell me. And Stefan, you are next. I did hear the question. I think absolutely. It's part of your identity. It's ultimately about who you are. Getting back to the definition, who you portray to the world to be. And I don't want to get into a psychological debate, and I'm not a trained psychologist. And if anybody is, please differ from me again if you don't think if you don't agree. But I believe we can change our identity. I don't believe we're born with a specific identity and that's it. If you're born with some identity that you don't like, that's it. Stuff you. Unfortunately, you. That's the way you're going to be. But Keith, I think the short answer is yes. It's got a lot to do with your identity, and I think to a large extent these things overlap and they are intertwined. Right. Thank you, Stefan.
Oh, Hekkie, I think just a comment that I want to make, how easy it is to, to portray a persona at work, in a meeting like this, on social media, in communications with your colleagues, and to have a different persona at work. And, I had to hear that, in my own family life before, you're one person at work. Of course, these days work is at home, so they listen to you and they hear how perhaps interested you are in others and you want to assist and help, and that's not necessarily the same experience that your own family is experience of you at home.
Yeah.
And I think all of us need to do that introspection and think of the reasons why we perhaps not the same person in these two spheres. And I worked it out for myself. It is about, I think, a recognition. You like to hear that you're a great person and that you have a wonderful brand out there. And, the recognition at home perhaps doesn't mean, the same to you as that outside recognition. And I think lots of people are living this one life at work and at social media and another life at home. And I think it's just I'm talking to myself, just a point where I need to tell myself again, am I the same person there and here? And then, back to one of my life lessons, live a life of significance, but make sure it starts at home. Our relationships at home is the most important thing. That's the thing that will carry us through when the chips are down. And not your relationships at work. And it's strange how we get our focus so wrong in our own lives.
Agreed. Alicia, I see your hand. I'll get you next. But before I do, I just want to respond to what Stefan's saying. Absolutely agree. Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and do it there. Something like that. And consistency is critical. Simon Sinek, I watched one of his videos a couple of months ago where he said, if you're a different person at home than you are at work, you're lying either one of the time, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I had a mentoring session not too long ago where the guy said, when I asked him in terms of our mentoring objectives, what would you like to focus on? Because you know you best. And he said, yeah, Hekkie, I want to focus on my emotions because at work, to your point, Stefan, I'm this nice guy and I behave because, you know, I can't get fired from work. But when I get home, I kick the dog and I shout and scream and I'm not a nice guy to be with. So my response to him was, be careful because you can get fired at home because your wife can leave you and the kids might one day never want to see you. The reality is, as part of a strong personal brand, we have to be consistent. Otherwise, we lie to ourselves in terms of what Simon Sinek said. Alicia?
So this is maybe a little bit not weird, but is there a way we can evaluate how other people view or how other people see our personal brands? Because I think, I don't know, because asking the questions for me, the answers might be, okay, yeah, my personal brand is not honest and I'm like outspoken and I give good feedback, but someone else can see it as rude. How can we determine how they are perceiving it? I think that's the word.
Good point. Absolutely. Do we have blind spots in life? We have absolutely a lot of blind spots in life. And I suppose the easiest way to find out is to ask. Especially if you respond in a meeting in a manner that you think, that was maybe a little bit out of character. Go and ask for feedback. With the assumption that you would at least think a little bit about the feedback because you have asked for it and you're asking for it with good intent in order to grow your personal brand. But ask for feedback because we sometimes think we are operating in this manner or behaving and then other people don't. That's not what they see in terms of the way that we show up. They interpret it differently, and then obviously with that feedback we can go and tweak our personal brands to what we'd like it to be. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. We are just over half past. I know you guys have other commitments. You're welcome to stay behind if you want to ask me anything else. Maybe one final question. Other than that, I thank you once again for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you end of November for the next webinar. And I wish you a very pleasant and blessed weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hekkie.
Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Bye bye.
Hekkie.
Thanks,
That's great.
Cheers, guys. Bye, Keith.
Chat soon. Bye.
We'll do it. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks a lot to the GIB team as well, or the GSB team, not the GIB team, GSB team. Thanks, Shireen. All the best. Bye bye.